Hey, what's up, everyone? Pastor JAMZ here back with another review, and today we're looking at the latest album by Ariana Grande, Eternal Sunshine. Ariana Grande is 30-year-old singer-songwriter and actress from Boca Raton, Florida. This is her seventh studio album, Eternal Sunshine, and that it just released this past Friday on March 8th. So, Ariana Grande, I do remember growing up seeing her on like Victorious and Sam and Cat, the Nickelodeon shows. I do remember in middle school when she started diving into the music industry, and in high school, like really, really breakthrough albums for the industry. A lot of popularity with Sweetener and Seven Rings, I believe it's called. The reason I'm a little confused about the titles because I don't really listen to her music. Not because I think it's horrible or whatever. I just never got around to it, and seven albums in. I mean, I maybe. Oof, heard a handful of songs. I mean, I like a track or two here and there, but I haven't really sat down and listened to a whole album, I should say. And take that as you will. Seventh studio album. Regardless of my score, I mean, I love giving any artist a chance, regardless of my history with them. Maybe like something positive happens, I get blown away. I check out their other stuff. If I don't like it, hey, I'll still give them another chance if they come out with something else. But that's how I am, good, bad, neutral. I love giving artists another chance or a chance at all. Like, even, like, for example, I haven't heard her music, I haven't heard a full album, so I was excited about this one. I just love when I get blown away and it's just something that catches me off guard. And that's what I love about music and the music industry. So, 13 tracks and 35 minutes. That's a pretty decent, pretty short album for the amount of tracks on here. But if you don't count the intro and the interlude, I mean, you're looking at 11 tracks and 35 minutes. So, my main gripe with the album is the autotune, her vocals. Some tracks are very intense, some tracks are very I mean, I know it's a pop and R&B styled album. However, the production kind of dives and leans towards more of these new age synthwave pop style sound, dance hall type thing. However, there are tracks on here that are more slower, more uh, uh, like emotional, sensitive, that you don't really need this hard, like intense auto tune, and it kind of ruins the track in my opinion. Not ruins it to where the point I'm like, oh, it's horrible or it's bad, but I really caught myself, especially in the later half of the album, with tracks. They're more sensitive, slowed down, more sentimental, more emotional, and it kind of dulls down with this intense auto tune. Which, I mean, she's seven albums deep. I don't think she really needs that anymore. Is that her sound? Is that her style? Possibly. Maybe that's what the fans like. But I mean, I'm not saying that she's not confident with her voice either, because there are tracks on here that the auto tune is really dimmed down, and you hear more of her natural voice, which I appreciate, like the self-titled track "Eternal Sunshine" and "Don't Want to Break Up Again." Those and even "Supernatural," throw that one in there too. It's just you hear more of her natural voice, and I appreciate that so much, because it's not like she has a horrible voice. But like I said, I digress. That might be her style, more intense autotune. It's just for me, for the more sentimental, emotional tracks, the slower tracks, I want to hear that natural voice. I don't want to hear this intense autotune that is not needed, and it really dulls down for the tracks and the feeling of the track. Now, going on to the production, earlier I did say it's more new age synthetic pop and R&B, and that is very true. I was very skeptical when I was hearing this album, and I told myself this sounds like something I've heard before, something I don't know that got album of the year in my list for 2020. I'm talking about After Hours by The Weeknd. I thought that there were way too many instances. I'm like, no way. I'm like, this sounds way too much, way too influenced, I'll say, of the weekends after hours, that album back in 2020, and I just had to check for myself the producers on this album, comparing it to that album of The Weeknd's. And yes, there are multiple tracks on here. Well, the whole album has the producer Max Martin, who did produce a good amount of tracks on The Weeknd's After Hours. And I was like, yep, that just backs up my claim. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I am just saying that it sounds a little too much and a little too inspired, I guess, given that they were working together. And they do, I mean, I can already see, like, okay, Ariana Grande was working with him, now he works with her, now he makes a few phone calls, gets Max Martin to produce her album. I can see that happening, and that's not really a bad thing. But then when the way that it's executed, it's not really a good thing either. Sounds way too much like that album, way too inspired, and the sound. I mean, you try to replicate a 9 out of 10 project, and the way that it's executed with these auto tunes, the production. I mean, it's not that half bad, but something I've already heard before, and I thought I put so high up on a pedestal. I mean, it won album of the year for me in 2020. I kind of like, yeah, I'm not saying she copied, but like, it just feels a little way too inspired for me. However, I do appreciate tracks like Eternal Sunshine, Supernatural, that there are more lively, very you really do hear that synthetic, that pop sound. Don't want to break up again, like I said, and even the track Yes and that track, oh my god, blew me away with the production. However, in terms of lyrics and like I said, her auto tune, I mean, it's a hit or miss for me. I'm really straight down the middle with this album, and I hate when that happens. I really don't like I don't really like giving middle scores, but I really am stuck on the fence on this one. I can't really lean one way or the other in terms of good and bad, positive, negative. It's just, I mean, sometimes it happens. It doesn't happen a lot, but I do hate when it does. In terms of themes, I mean, it's a love album, very sentimental, looking to her past. I do appreciate her being so vulnerable and exposing herself in certain tracks. I really do appreciate that. That takes a lot of guts, especially coming from a female artist. And however, she does contradict herself a lot, claiming that yeah, she knows she has these vices. She knows that she can be the villain, but at the same time, like, she doesn't care in a way. I mean, I don't really know how to explain, but there's also like she's obsessed with boys. Like, she can't stop with these vices, and she kind of just keeps running in circles. And there are some of the most powerful writing I've ever seen in some of these tracks. You'll see below in my awesome jams. I really think that they kind of. I mean, if it wasn't for the writing, it still would have been meh for me. But wrapping things up here, I think you're going straight down the middle, 5 out of 10 for the latest album by Ariana Grande, her seventh studio album, Eternal Sunshine. Like I said, I hate when this happens, even though it doesn't really happen that often to me. I just there's too many there's too much of a balance here. Like, there's not one pro weighing out a con. Like, they just cancel each other out. Everything's so equal. It is what it is. The way that it landed for me. And if you're an Ariana Grande fan, take this as a win. I mean, for my first album of hers that listening all the way, I mean, there are tracks on here that I really did enjoy. However, I do think that the auto-tune, the intense auto-tune, kind of like the backtracking a bit, really does set her back with this album and other tracks. And I really do think that, with the extreme choices that she made, the risks that she took, if she just tweaked them a little, maybe even fleshing out other ideas that she possibly had in terms of sound and her voice, this could have been a really high-rated album. Go check this one out. This one was really interesting to me, even though it's a 5 out of 10. Link in the description below to look at my awesome jams and sour jams, and to listen to the album. Hopefully you're all looking forward to the next video. Pass the jams out.